My name is Jake. I'm a product manager with Accredible. I've been with Accredible for years, really through so much of the growth of the company, and it's fantastic to see you all here today. It means we're in a good place. And I have the pleasure of speaking to Tom and Erik, who are some of the, is power user the right word? Would you guys consider yourself power users? Yeah, okay. So we have power users of the Pathways feature, which is one of the larger features I've been in charge of here at Accredible, taking to market. So really excited to speak to them, uncover some of the things that they're doing, and share that with you all. And enough about me. Tom, just to roll things a little bit together, maybe if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and about the credentialing program at State of Missouri.
Sure, thank you. So my name is Tom Joseph. I'm a senior talent specialist with the State of Missouri Division of Personnel. And essentially, we launched this program back in February for digital credentialing to really highlight our team members' skills, learning, and achievements in a new way. And then we've been able to really accelerate that with the Pathways feature.
Right. And then, Erik, more or less same prompt to you.
Yeah, sure thing. So good to be with you. I am with Wharton Online. It's part of the Division of Executive Education here at the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania. I've been with Exec Ed for almost 10 years, with Wharton Online for over 7, and in sort of this credentialing role for over 5, as our business has grown and embraced digital credentials and really run with it. We adopted Accredible, late last spring, 2022, and we have enjoyed both the functionality of stackable credentials, as well as the evolved features of Pathways. So happy to talk about it today.
Yeah. Just to help those in the audience who may or may not feel that their credential program has a lot in common with yours, can you give us a little bit more detail about the kind of things that you are credentialing? Are they modules? Is it a full university diploma? Is it a track? What is the kind of thing that you're issuing credentials for?
Sure. So for us, we have our state workforce is about 50,000 team members. And within that, those skills, learning, achievements, we have various training modules that are offered online. Some of them are in person. We do service awards. We do a lot of different things. Team members of the month across the state within individual agencies. We do quite a bit. And then specific to Pathways, we have a pretty large, prestigious learning piece of content online called the Missouri Way. And it's 55 hours of content online. And we've built that out into 6 separate credentials that we have built into Pathways to automatically issue a master credential at the end. So that's the specific use case for Pathways, but we use Accredible across the board for a lot of different things.
Right. So some kind of learner engagement stuff, skill recognition, and then some of these higher level connected, meta credentials. Great, whole wide mix. I'd love to hear it. And Erik, again, more or less same prompt to you.
Sure thing. So Wharton Online offers, at the latest count, 116 courses and programs for anytime, anywhere learning of business skills. We aim it at a professional learner audience. And so that is offering entirely programs that are non-credit. This is something that you don't have to apply for admissions and think about sort of your, plan for a degree. In fact, they would not qualify for a degree. What they do qualify for are certificates and badges that we issue that they can then provide in the marketplace and say, either that they are qualified to, rise up to achieve greater responsibilities in their organizations, maybe pivot to a different career path, and otherwise show what they know. This holds a lot of opportunity for the, mid-career audience, but we really provide programming throughout lifelong learning. We offer customized program for organizations as well as open enrollment opportunities. So more of our pathways that we've created are in that open enrollment space. They address the needs of our certificate learners who have a 4-course or 3-course certificate program. The pathway clearly delineates that. And then we also have one where you can combine multiple certificates into this summative executive leadership certificate that we offer as well.
Okay, while it's still fresh, Erik, there's a couple things I'd love to hear a little bit in depth about the pathway there. You mentioned a couple of streams or collections of 4 credentials. That's overall, you've got an entire program consisting of 16. And then you're thematically breaking it up. How did you choose to break it into these smaller modules?
Well, so these programs were created separately. These programs offer 4 courses, which can be taken a la carte. So not everybody who is on our pathway is expected to actually complete it. We'll never get
Sure.
to 100%, I think, and that's fine. We really want to support and meet people where they are. The courses themselves have individual module completions, which use kind of this, a different product, I would say, because really we want to focus on Accredible and Pathways as sort of the summit of achievement of completing the courses, of completing the programs as well, and then being able to demonstrate that through the pathways in this sort of word of mouth marketing. So it's a really great demonstration to be able to show somebody, what they can achieve if they have bought the first course in, say, leadership and management or digital marketing. They can go on and pursue that certificate if they so choose.
Right. It kind of encapsulates the whole program and shows them where they can continue on.
Exactly right.
Great. Tom, I don't want to forget about you, but this is just spinning my brain here. Erik, have you seen, market improvement in completion then? I'm assuming for you guys, you want people to be taking that first course, getting exposed to the pathway, and then taking additional courses. Have you seen that impact?
We've had some really great engagement with our credentials. We've had a lot of acceptance of the badges, extremely high rates of not only accepting, but then going on and sharing or, showing those credentials off on places like LinkedIn or downloading a certificate as well. I don't know that I can say specifically that it's driven a lot more enrollment because we had already been sort of publishing the pathway with a sort of lowercase p through our marketing efforts. So we have a website to be able to sell seats on our courses. And that had already sort of demonstrated to the consumer exactly what you can expect from our offerings. So you can buy them a la carte, you can buy them separately, but you can also pursue this longer path as well. What I will say is that Accredible in general has really, really done a wonderful service to us with the growth plan. And so by being able to provide more marketing material opportunities, to be able to showcase through, let's say, the white label site or the spotlight directory, exactly the kind of offerings that we have, and then the success that people can demonstrate through these networking efforts and continuing to share those credentials. It's really sort of a value add all around when it comes to supporting our marketing campaigns, and Pathways is a great part of that too.
Great. Yeah, I mean, fantastic answer, fantastic plug. You're better at selling Accredible than I am even. Tom, sort of a similar prompt for you. I know that you at State of Missouri have those 6 streams of courses. Can you tell us a little bit about how that is segmented? Maybe give the audience a way into thinking about how to, group together some of their courses in a sensible way.
Sure. So that online content, as I mentioned, it's a behemoth. It's 55 hours of content, and learners, when they go through it, it's broken up already into 6 different paths based on the type of content that is in each of them. And so those 6 paths, if you will, existed before we even came on board with Accredible. And so it was an easy build into Pathways once we got on board with Accredible and once that feature came out, because they already existed. And so the neat thing with Pathways is we were able to plug them in very, very easily. It's very user friendly to do so and get those all set up. And for us, the big selling point of Pathways is with 50,000 team members who might be engaging in any of these paths at any time, it's a huge burden to try and track who has completed which path at which time, and then who has actually completed all 6 of them, and should they get this master evolved credential at the very end. It's a giant ask. And so with Pathways, we're able to track who has completed each of the 6 paths at any point within a quarter, and then we upload that information. We send out each of those individual credentials for those 6 paths, but then Pathways actually tracks the completion of all of those on the back end for us. So we're not spending the FTE to be going back and tracking across all 6 paths who's completing all of them. Pathways just does that for us. And so we're able to spend our time elsewhere, serving Missourians and training in different areas and lifting new programs with the FTE that we're saving from doing that.
Was that the main problem you were looking to Pathways for, was clearing up some of that automation?
Yeah,
or
it's a great question. No, it was like an exciting find that came out of Pathways. Was like, oh my gosh, this does this for us. It was more so there's some other features built into Pathways, such as being able to see how many learners have engaged in each portion of it. So
Right.
we could go back to our peers across the state and say, hey, this one's more popular than others, or there's less learners than this. How can we promote this more? Or if you do manage to, complete all 55 hours, hey, here's this above and beyond team member who has completed all of this training. Let's let them know and their supervisors know that they did that. So it was more of an exciting find that came out of it. Was not the original intent.
Just to pick at a few details, hopefully that are helpful for the audience. Of the 6 streams, are there kind of options that people can complete, or it's truly finish everything and then you get the credential at the end?
Yeah, good question. So you don't have to go in order, but to get the final version, you do have to complete all 6. So maybe there's some immediate training that you really need in a specific space of such, interpersonal skills, leading change management. You can learn in that specific path whenever you need to, but you wouldn't necessarily get a completion until you've gone through all 6 paths.
So you're having to complete it. One thing that Erik has just made me think about, for Wharton, it sounds like having that overall picture for a student, this is the entire ecosystem of credentials I can earn, is valuable for the exposure. For state of Missouri, are those 6 streams really segmented, or do you have a pathway that kind of holds all of these together? And I'm wondering how much jumping around you see of people between different streams.
Yeah, it's a good question. And I think it looks a little bit different for us because of the nature of the work that we do. And
Sure.
so this large learning module pathway is the only pathway that we're using. And I wouldn't say that this specific pathway has driven necessarily more engagement to our other credentials. It might even be the inverse. Our other broad environment of credentials are maybe driving participation in this pathway, if you will. I checked yesterday and our current fiscal year engagement is 91%, which is wild. And that's across just the ones that we've issued out since July 1.
Yep.
And we have gotten to the point now where people are reaching out and saying, hey, I completed this training yesterday. Where's my credential?
Yeah.
And we issue certain ones on different cadences. And so trying to land on which cadence makes sense for which one. But overall, I would say it's more so the ecosystem that we've built is driving engagement towards the pathway instead of the other way around.
Great. I've got a general question for both of you as somebody who's been heavily involved with the feature. Do you feel like the pathways that you have created accurately capture your program? But to me, I found that one of the hurdles that a lot of people can get into is they're taking this amorphous, maybe course catalog, and then they have to turn it into a web of completions, or like, did pathways give you clarity as you're going through the process of mapping out these streams, or did you already have that ready to go? And do you feel like the end product really fits the shape of your certification program?
I'll start that one. So I would say for us, it already existed. It's more so Pathways has taken it to another level for us. So I've spoken heavily about this training feature. Already existed. We're just able to take it further. We have another department. So we've expanded our program to all of the executive departments can have their own administrative seat to also send out credentials within their own department that might be specific to them. We have another department who has an acronym of their values and what's important to them. And you can get nominated by your peers to receive a credential for each of these values. And once you have accrued all 4 of them, it evolves into a master credential or certificate. And so these have always existed for them, but now they're able to take this recognition piece into a virtual realm, which is where we're all going, and further engage team members in a different level. And so they've now built that into Pathways. So once you have, or they will be building into Pathways, once you've receive each of these 4 credentials, then it automatically evolves versus them having to track who's done which when. So again, there's some FTE saving going on there, and just really taking our initiatives to the next level of using Pathways.
This helps you kind of double down on the things that you're already doing, sounds like.
Yeah, I would argue that that's the same for us. We have a catalog site that allows for purchase of seats in the courses. And that has some descriptions as well. And it can be laid out either with tiles or lists of courses and programs. And, something like that is well represented. What it doesn't have on our existing site is that visual. The visualization is really nice to be able to sort of track the pathway, to be able to double click on each component course and be able even to, get to a point of do you want to register? Do you want to earn that credential? Then go ahead and click on the button and it'll take you to a page to do so. I think where it's also driven value for us is the automation of the credentials once somebody's actually gone along that path. That wasn't something that we had before we came to Accredible. So really more of the value for us, I would argue, has actually been on the backside. It's eliminated a lot of that sort of manual operation that we had to take part in. We actually had to invite requests from people who'd earned the component badges to say, hey, if you've earned these, then we will send to you the summative badge for the program that earns the entire certificate. So we were able to eliminate a lot of aggravation and time just spent, doing those manual tasks because we adopted pathways.
Okay, here's a question for you, because I always felt that I remember vividly going through undergrad, and at the time when I went through undergrad, the university course catalog was like a phone book, and you needed to go through and highlight courses you need to take, and you'd cross-reference. And I'm wondering, how much are you looking at this as a guidance tool for people going through? If you've talked to any learners who can see, yeah, I've done requirements A and C, and I know that I'm well on my pathway, or is it mostly for you on the automation side, where you don't need to do that complex math of highlighting if people have finished the requisite courses?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's probably for us a little more on the back end because we already had the front end pretty well situated. Mm-hmm. It can definitely inform the conversation. And I think that I would love to be able personally, if we can sort of embed the pathway page into our marketing efforts and into sort of our storefront. I think that would be a great win for us. But at the same time, what we are able to do with it is, to exactly your point, to be able to point out in a very nice visual wrap up and to be able to say, here's your potential path that you could go forward, and if there are ways that we can support you through that, we will. We're actually looking forward toward ways in which we can diversify those paths, but for right now it's pretty prescriptive.
I would agree. In general, there's not much flexibility in our path because it already exists. We're not going to be changing that content. And since we're utilizing pathways in a way to just make the back end of things kind of similar to what Erik was mentioning, easier. And we do have built in, similar to Erik as well, interested in learning more about this, click this link, and it takes you to the online version of that path. And then once you SSO into our platform, you can learn more about it and start learning more of that content. And we do have that pathway embedded on, or maybe not embedded, linked is the better word, to our overarching white labeled page for our department. And so all of our credentials are listed there. And then similarly on the credentials page, you can get into the pathways page. It's linked there as well. So we're trying to push people back and forth to each of the things as needed.
Great. I'm hearing marketing as a bit of a theme in the last couple answers there. And I wanted to ask about that because when we started with the feature, we assumed, or not assumed, I'd seen a few examples of issuers who would link externally, or they'd say, we offer this certification and here's a bunch of requirements. It sounds like, Tom, you've replaced those links that may have been existing currently, just said, go look at the Accredible pathway. It's doing the job of telling you how to get the credential.
Yeah, so for example, when someone receives, let's just say they complete one path within the 6 of them and they get that credential, they get the pathway 1 badge, and it says, want to learn more, go here, and then expands out into the entire pathway. So me or their department's trainer is not, saying, go do all of these things. They're being prompted initially to go do it. And then of course I or someone else can follow up, but that initial prompt is already there and the information is already there.
Right. The first exposure is in just receiving the credential and getting introduced into the pathway. Yeah. And then Erik, just kind of a similar question. You mentioned the marketing, you'd like to be able to embed it. What's the missing piece? Do you already have existing coverage, or is it that it's not in a format that works with your website?
I can see the value in including it sort of in our path when we work with a digital marketer. We're going from, a paid ad that you might see on social media or another website, and it'll point to a website that we have that's already set up to promote our programs. In that sense, would we then link out to Accredible to show a pathway? Or would we rather have somebody stay on our website to see the pathway and then just go directly? I think a lot of it has to do with just sort of tracking along the lines of being able to convert from, clicking the ad to actually, selling the seat in the course. I think that's something that, we would love to see more metrics around. And
Sure.
I haven't been able to say definitively, can these pathways support, say, Google Tag Manager? Haven't really looked at that yet, but, that's something that is a big point of discussion in what we have created with our current pay site as well.
We're coming up closer to the end of time. I've got a few questions from the audience that Patty's let me know. Are either of you using an LMS? I'm kind of assuming so. And can you let us know, the audience is curious just what it is? And I'm curious to know how well you find that works with your setup of pathways.
I'll start that one. So the state of Missouri, we do not have a statewide LMS. We will be moving to one in the future, but right now we do not have one. And so our vendor for, go-to online training is LinkedIn Learning. And so, for example, that large path that I've been referencing lives within LinkedIn Learning. We can upload our own custom content. We can pull reports out of it. The LinkedIn Learning itself is not an LMS. Some of our individual departments might have an LMS, but statewide one does not exist.
So you're getting information into the system. When I say the system, I mean Accredible. You're doing that, you said, on a quarterly basis and more of like a spreadsheet upload, or?
Yeah, we did not. Good question. So since we are eventually getting an LMS, we have not gone through the work of doing the API integrations to different things, because eventually they're going away, or not going away. Our systems are changing. And so we didn't want to go through changing that until that goes through. So yes, right now we have a large file that is built by the rest of our team, and then it gets uploaded into Accredible to distribute from there.
Got it. Thanks.
Very easy to answer from my end of things. We have every one of our courses that is represented on the pathway is a Canvas by Instructure based course. We have Accredible integrated into each one through completion of the module requirements within the course. Student or participant in that case is able to then claim the badge as that final module reveals itself once everything else is done.
Great. And it works pretty smoothly for you, Erik, or is there some point of connection you wish was a little bit stronger?
I think it's sometimes a matter of setting expectations. I don't think that the process is as smooth as it could be. What we had experienced with our previous provider was actually an automation where once the modules were complete, it then sent that request to issue the badge automatically, and within 45 minutes it was done. There was no need to additionally claim it within the course.
Right.
And we haven't set that up, in terms of any API calls or anything like that. But I would love to see that automated. Right now, what we have is working. It's kind of low tech, but it does the job.
Got it. So it sounds like in both cases, there's room to expand in the future. I've got a specific question for Tom here, but I think we could generalize it. Do you guys see maybe more impact for the learners who are completing an entire pathway versus an individual course? Like, it's phrased here as like career advancement or career growth, but it doesn't necessarily need to be that. Are you just seeing something where that achievement is enabling the learner to go on and get a different outcome?
Yeah, good question. So the neat thing about pathways is we've been able to see and track learners who have done some of them, all of them, and amongst a 50,000 person workforce, completing 55 hours of content is very difficult in the work in general, but especially in the work that we do. And so we've been able to see how many people have actually matriculated through all of them. And that number is rather low. And so I can't speak to, has completing all 6 of these had a significant outcome. And then here's the reason for that, though, is maybe folks aren't doing it, one, because it's 55 hours of online content, but also we have an in-person version of this that existed pre-COVID, and it was a 3-day in-person event. And now it has come back to a full day in-person event. So it's been kind of offered in varying ways. And so if you've attended an old one, you're coming to a new one, you don't have a reason to go to the online one. So that's one piece. But then to further this question, though, a neat thing with Accredible is you can kind of export a resume is not the right word, if you will, of all of your learning that you've done. And so some of our departments are looking into, well, can we request that or have it submitted in a application of like, well, what else have you been doing at the state that I don't know about? Because we only credential to internal team members. And so some of these things might not make sense to someone outside of the state, but if you're within the state, it all makes sense. But we've had some folks who have said, people who complete this path or this credential or the certificate, they have a leg up in various things. And so I would say in the long run, I anticipate completing various things through our credentials will have an impact, but we've only been live with it since February. So I think it's difficult to kind of what that looks like right now.
Sounds incredibly positive in the short amount of time. Erik, before I let you go, I would love to hear your answer.
Yeah, I mean, Pathways has supported what we have done already, and Pathways has really sort of anticipated the direction that we want to go as well. So I've loved hearing more emphasis on the professional and skill-based pathways. We haven't actually created that yet, but it's certainly a tee up for some of the later sessions of this panel to come. And shout out to our instructional design team led by Sherry Place. We're undertaking this curriculum mapping project, and that will really sort of be able to identify all of the skills that people will earn by taking our programs and courses. And so in doing that, when you have the badge or the credential out there in the marketplace and it's got skill tags associated with it, we want to be able to sort of back that up in an evidence-based way to be able to show a path, not just on earning the badge or credential as sort of the representation of, hey, this achievement that you spent so many hours in the course, but really more to demonstrate out there again to prospective employers, for any sort of purpose as you go through your lifelong journey of learning, exactly what you have learned, what you've taken from the course, and being able to set it by, job titles that you want to achieve, I think is a great way of doing that.
Yeah. Well, just want to say thank you both, Erik and Tom, for your generosity with your time and your information here. I'm sure the audience appreciates it. There's a lot for them to take away. And you guys have both I'm very happy to hear the stories of how you are doing with Pathways. You work on a feature like that for a long time. It's such a treat to be able to hear how you guys are using it and finding success. So thank you both so much.